That is Sand Key Lighthouse, because it's built on a little sand key over there. There's one of those about every 18 miles marking the reef line, so let boats know that it does get extremely shallow out here. If you look at some nautical maps, you can see that there's been shipwrecks throughout the years, all up and down this entire reef line, because everything does get so shallow. So I know what your next question is have we ever hit anything? Have we ever run aground or anything like that? And the answer is no, we have not. Luckily, we have Captain Carrie, who's very experienced and very good at piloting this craft. She's been doing it about 3 days now, has not hit one single thing. So feel safe. We're going to be in good shape. But the water here is about 8 to 12 feet deep normally. A little sandy area gets to be maybe about 15 feet deep at the most. So we're just going to kind of drift around here, and she's going to drift around back and forth. So if it gets kind of cloudy out there from time to time, and just hold on, because when we drift into different lighting, it's going to start looking a lot clearer. So as you look down there, it does seem like it's a lot closer than what everything is actually, because the water's about 800 times more dense than the atmosphere, so it has a magnification property to it. When you're looking down there, everything looks definitely a lot closer than normal, but there's no tricks on the glass down there. That's an inch and a quarter thick plexiglass. There's no special lighting or anything like that underneath the boat. There's times when we come out here and we cannot see one single thing. So when we get to where we can actually see things, especially with what the tide's doing right now, it's pretty awesome. We're going to be able to see right to the bottom. We'll see all the fish and all the coral and all of that good stuff also. So I mentioned this area does get shallow. The reason that a lot of coral likes to live in this type of area is because of the sunlight. So coral likes to live up there at the top of the water where it can get a lot of sunlight. We have two different kinds of coral that live here. We have soft coral and hard coral. Soft coral is everything down there that kind of looks like a plant. Anything that looks kind of like a bush or a grass or plants or anything like that is not. That's a different ecosystem. We kind of went over that on the way over here. Everything down there looks like a plant is basically soft coral. It has the same protein in its magnet that we have in our hair and fingernails, so it gives a lot of flexibility to be able to move around down there. Coral does not have any kind of structure to it, so when it dies, it pretty much just kind of disintegrates. We have different types of coral. The soft coral that you'll see down there, the big ones that a lot of people like are the big elephant ear looking ones, kind of purple looking. Those are called sea fans because they kind of resemble a fan. The really big, long, bushy ones are called sea plumes. They kind of resemble the plumage of a large bird, like an ostrich. And the skinnier ones that aren't like that bushy, those are called sea whips. It looks like a whip. Then we have some that are called sea fingers. It looks like a human hand with actual knuckles and everything on it. So we pretty much describe everything out here by its common name. Of course, everything does have a scientific name, but I won't go into that too much just because most everything's in Latin. Nobody really speaks Latin anymore, so you'll know what I'm talking about as far as all the common names and everything down there. But the soft coral does not really provide a whole lot of structure down there. It doesn't really build the reef. What actually builds the reef system is the hard coral. Hard coral is a calcium carbonate exoskeleton, kind of like a limestone, or basically another word for a limestone. So it's very hard, and then hundreds of thousands of years, layer upon layer, kind of builds up, and so it provides homes for all these little fish to be able to live in. It's kind of like the Manhattan of the ocean. About a third of the world's fish population depend on the reef system in some way or another, so it's very important that we do everything we can to be able to protect it. The main job of the reef system itself has a few different jobs. The main job is basically to provide a home for all these little fish. That's why we don't have a whole lot of really big predators that come out here. Sometimes we do have some bigger sharks and bigger predators that come out here, but usually all the mako and the great white sharks, jaws, and all those guys don't really hang out in the reef too much just because there's not a whole lot for them to eat out here. These little fish are not going to fill them up, and they're really hard to catch because they're all down in the nooks and crannies of the reef, so the sharks can really have a hard time getting to them. So not too many sharks come around the reef, but there are some bigger predators that do come and hang out. I'm going to go into those in just a minute. I'll start talking a little bit more about some of the bigger fish. And then the calcium carbonate for the hard coral also helps balance the pH and the acidity levels of the ocean water. So it keeps everything in there growing nice and living like it's supposed to. So that's another important reason for the reef system. Keeps all the water balanced and pure. And then there's another reason. If you know, this is hurricane season right now. Last September, we had Irma that came through this area. Now, we had buoys out here registering waves about 35 feet high. If a 35-foot wave were to hit Key West, which is 16 feet above sea level at the highest point, averages about 4 or 5, you can imagine what it would look like now. We'd be doing snorkeling trips down to Sloppy Joe's instead of just basically walking down the road. So luckily the waves just kind of crashed here. They didn't have time to rejuvenate in the 6 miles that it takes to get back to land. So we're very lucky that the reef system is here basically to help protect Key West, and in all the other countries it also pretty much does the same thing. So we're grateful for that. But what builds the reef is basically the hard coral. That does all the structure, like I said, over the hundreds of thousands of years. Different types of hard coral that we have in this ecosystem. We have elkhorn coral, which looks like elk antlers. Staghorn coral looks like deer antlers. Boulder coral looks actually like a big rock. So if you see anything that looks like a rock down there, boulder coral. Brain coral. Brain coral is one of my favorite ones. It actually looks like a human brain. It has all the hemispheres and everything of a human brain of a mammal. Those can be as big as a beach ball or bigger, or about the size of a grapefruit. Just kind of depends. So you'll see some of the brain coral hanging out down there. But if you didn't know about coral, coral actually is an animal. It's an animal that has a special property to it. It has part plant and part animal at the same time. Now, the reason it likes to grow near the top of the water where it covers shallow areas, so it can get a lot of sunlight. The plant part has an algae in its cells called zooxanthellae, and it basically feeds the coral. It basically photosynthesizes all the sunlight, turns the glucose to sugar, and basically that's how the coral gets its energy during the daytime. During the nighttime, the plant part goes to sleep, and then awake comes the animal part. And then out come the polyps. Polyps are small, little tubular, has stinging tentacles on the end, almost like a jellyfish type structure. Has a little mouth, and it's really small, about the size of a match head. You can really not see it unless you're kind of looking at it through a microscope. But that's how the animal part kind of feeds itself at night. Anything kind of floating by that looks nutritious for the coral, it'll basically just stick that in its mouth, stick it with the tentacles, and then feed itself that way. But 95% of the food and energy comes from the plant part also. But the animal part does also do an important thing. It helps protect the coral from other corals because they're all kind of battling for space. A lot of different reef systems, there's not a whole lot of space for corals to keep growing, so they'll start growing kind of next to each other. And when one starts to invade the space of another one, it will actually extrude its stomach contents onto the coral next to it and digest it alive. So it basically spills its guts and will digest the coral next to it just to keep it from kind of getting into its area and stealing all the sunlight. So the animal part of it does play an important role as far as that goes also. Now, as far as some of these fish down here, we're going to see quite a few different varieties. I'm going to go in and basically telling you kind of what we see the most of down here. The one that you'll recognize right away is about a foot long, has a yellow stripe down its body with a yellow tail. Those are yellowtail snapper. Or if you're walking around Key West, they're called the catch of the day, pretty much, because all the restaurants basically have it on their menu. It's really easy to catch. They pretty much will bite anything. Matter of fact, if you're not feeling well, you want to go to the end of the boat, you're going to find out a lot of little snappers are going to be swimming around you. So that's I don't really talk about eating fish too much, but they are delicious if you haven't had a chance to try one. The reason they're called snapper is, well, let's put it this way. If you do any fishing in this ecosystem and you happen to catch a snapper and you try to take a hook out of its mouth with your finger, you're going to learn really quick why they call it a snapper, because it does have teeth. It'll snap onto your finger, and they do not like to let go. So it is painful. If you do happen to do some fishing out here, you catch one, just take the hook out of its mouth with a pair of pliers. Usually works best. So little snapper guys, delicious. Since I'm on the subject of food, you'll see some little brown ones down there about the size of the palm of your hand. They kind of swim in bigger schools. Those are the little grunts. We had a really famous guy that used to live here. His name was Ernest Hemingway, and so he wrote a bunch of novels, and he actually would mention these little grunt fish because when they come out of the water, they kind of grunt at you. And they were here in Key West. They make a delicacy called grunts and grits. So they would make a big pile of cheese grits, and then they would make the grunts with it. So I guess it was a really popular thing back in those days. Unfortunately, we don't do that really too much anymore. The restaurants don't want to spend the time trying to debone those little guys, so not anymore. But anyways, a little bit of a Key West history with Ernest Hemingway and the little grunt fish down there. So another one that you're going to see a lot of that is down there is the little yellow ones with the 5 black bars. Those are called Sergeant Major damsels. Now, Sergeant Major damsels are really cool fish because they're really, really aggressive. They will attack you. Matter of fact, you have more of a chance being attacked by a Sergeant Major damsel than any shark in this ecosystem. And we have about 70 different species. So they are very aggressive. They're kind of a mean little fish, and they're kind of angry little fish, and I'll tell you why. What happens to those guys is the female basically makes the nest and then lays the eggs. And then she leaves. She leaves and she does not come back, and that makes him extremely angry. He's so angry, in fact, he changes to a different color. He'll be like turn into like a blue fish with the black stripes. He's mad because his girlfriend left him. He's stuck in one spot now, having to guard his nest. Not happy. Changes color, so the other fish pretty much know he's not in a good mood. So if you're down there snorkeling, and you go by his area, he's going to consider you a predator, and then that's when you're going to get attacked. So he's going to come after you. What he tries to do, he tries to intimidate you by bumping up against your snorkeling mask where your eyes are to kind of scare you a little bit. Now, his problem is well, he's not very big. He's about the size of the palm of your hand, and he doesn't really have any teeth, so he can't hurt you. So when they're attacking you, there's a couple there swimming by. When they're attacking you, it's actually kind of fun and funny. It tickles a little bit to be attacked by these little guys that is trying really hard to intimidate you. So it's funny and fun unless you're scared of fish. And if you're scared of fish, you probably found out that you're more of a swimming pool person and probably should not do more snorkeling trips. But that's a small fish. But he'll keep messing with you until you leave his area. Or until he gets kind of tired of you not leaving his area and he has a backup plan. This is why he's so smart. He's one of the smartest fish out here. If it doesn't work, he's going to swim away, make you think that he's leaving you alone. But he's not leaving you alone. The reason he just left you is because he's going to get about 20 of his buddies to come back and mess with you all at the same time. So now he's going to bring back all his friends. They're all going to be bumping against your mask, trying to intimidate you, trying to get you to leave the area. And they'll just kind of keep doing that until you kind of move away from their area. But the little Sergeant Major Dale's going to give up for those little guys. Really smart little fish, and one of the cooler fishes that live down here. So one of my favorite fish, and one of the keystone species they call it in this ecosystem, is because they're so important here. And these are called parrotfish. Parrotfish are some of the bigger tropical fish that you'll see down here. They're pretty good size. They can be 2 or 3 feet long. They grow up to be about 50 pounds. We have midnight parrotfish, the color of really dark blue looking. We have rainbow parrotfish, the color of a rainbow. Stoplight parrotfish are cool. They kind of have a stoplight color scheme to them. But you can always tell it's a parrotfish because they have a beak. They have a beak just like a bird has a beak, like a parrot has a beak on it. And they're very important because these fish actually, they don't eat other fish. They actually eat the algae that grows on top of the coral that keep the sunlight from getting into the coral. So they kind of eat that algae off so the coral can keep getting the sunlight in. But then also what happens is they actually will take a bite of the coral itself with their really hard beak, and then they actually digest it. And then what comes out the other end, this is the scientific term, is called coral dust. Coral dust, that's the scientific term. The common name for this, you may be surprised to hear that, well, let's put it this way. All those really nice walks on the beach you've done before in your life and all those nice sandcastles you built with your family, well, guess what? You were basically playing in parrotfish poop. 60% of the beach sand in this environment has come out of a parrotfish at one time or another. So hopefully that didn't ruin your time to the beach next time or anything like that, ruin your plans. You've been playing in it for years anyway. It's not going to hurt you. But it's very important that we have the sand because sand's kind of like a binding agent. A lot of things have to grow in the sand, and it's really important that it's here. That's why these fish are considered a keystone species in this area, like one of the most important animals that live here. A fully grown parrotfish can produce between 100 to 200 pounds of beach sand in 1 year. So, yeah, very important fish to have down here, for sure. And then if you see a little fish down there that looks like a little blue spade-shaped fish, those are our little movie star that lives here. Those are blue tangs. And if you've ever seen the movie Nemo or Dory, that would be Dory. So Dory lives down there. A relative of Dory lives down there. She's in the surgeonfish family, so she's not quite as nice and calm and nice, I guess, as in real life as she is in the movie. She's actually kind of a meaner little fish. Surgeonfish have a really sharp barb in their tails, and they can inflict a lot of damage on other fish, and it's almost like a little scalpel. So they can inflict a lot of damage. A lot of fish like to basically stay away from Dory down there. I'm not sure why she's so angry, and maybe just because Nemo doesn't live here anymore, or never lived here. He's a clownfish. Those live in the South Pacific, so there's no Nemos here. But that may be why she's so angry. So if you see a little blue spade-shaped fish, that's Dory. So as far as the bigger predators, I know everybody likes to hear about the big guys that come out here. One of the main ones that we see all the time are barracuda. Barracuda can be pretty good size. They can be a foot or two long, the smaller ones, and then the bigger ones grow to be about 7 feet long. Matter of fact, we've seen some underneath this boat before that basically take up about half the size of that glass down there. The 7-footers can be big. They can be well over 100 pounds. They're really scary looking. They look like big torpedoes floating around with a lot of teeth. They like to swim with their teeth showing, and they're pretty scary. They actually have a bad rap. Barracuda are not quite as bad as what everybody thinks. There was a documentary done a few years ago that said that barracuda were basically terrorizing the Keys, and please stay out of the water or the barracuda are going to eat you. And that is completely false. Barracuda do not attack people or try to eat you. They don't like what you taste like. They basically just kind of hang out. They are very inquisitive animals. I've been snorkeling myself, and I happened to see a barracuda was following me. And so what he was doing, he stayed about 10 yards away from me and just kind of stared at me. And he was just trying to figure out why I'm such a big, ugly fish swimming around in his ecosystem with really weird-looking fins. And he couldn't figure out what I was. What I did was I swam towards him, and he would swim away. And then if I swam away, the barracuda would swim towards me. But he pretty much just kind of kept this distance the entire time. He never really tried to come any closer to me. So they're just basically down there just checking you out. Now, here's a tip for you guys, just to remember about what not to do in this ecosystem. I'm going to About this one, and then I'm going to tell you one thing about the coral too, not to do also. But if you're swimming in this ecosystem, snorkeling, diving, just swimming, try to remember never to wear jewelry. Jewelry or even rhinestones on your bathing suit, because you're basically asking for problems. You go into any bait shop on the planet, you'll see that they have lures that are shiny, attracts fish. So if there has been any barracuda attacks, it's probably just because it's a exploratory type bite. They see the shiny thing, they think it's a food source. They're going to taste it and see what it's like. So if you don't have any kind of shiny things on when you're in this ecosystem, you won't have any problems with any barracuda. Another tip about being safe out here. Now I mentioned the coral. If you go to any eco tour where you do any snorkeling or diving or anything like that, they're basically going to be sure to tell you do not touch the coral. Coral is very delicate. We have a bacteria in our system that if you touch one piece of coral, you can damage an entire colony at the same time and even kill a lot of coral off. It takes years for them to grow back. So you have to be very careful not to touch the coral. There's another reason also is because there's a thing called fire coral down there. It kind of looks like sheetrock with white tip. Fire coral is extremely unpleasant. If you happen to get contact with some fire coral, you're going to feel like you're on fire. Basically, someone just touched you with a blowtorch. It's going to burn really bad for a few hours to a few weeks, maybe even a month, depending on your sensitivity. Interesting thing about fire coral, there's absolutely no cure for it. Once it stops, it's just going to dissipate on its own. But if you come back to this ecosystem about 5 years later, and you happen to be unlucky enough to touch some more fire coral, the area you just touched, again, it's going to start burning, but the area that you infected 5 years ago also will start burning again. So I guess it's just kind of Mother Nature's way to remind us, don't touch the coral. And then this also is a protected marine sanctuary, so the laws are very strict about trying to take souvenirs out of here. So there's been people that have maybe taken a brain coral, maybe a smaller one about the size of a grapefruit, and then if the authorities catch them, what they do is they'll take it away from the person, they'll weigh it, and they charge you basically $500 per ounce. And then one little piece of brain coral the size of a grapefruit, remember it has a hard exoskeleton limestone, basically that's going to run a person about $8,000. So that's going to really up your vacation cost a lot. And you know, honestly, I've heard of a story where someone actually got some into their suitcase and then they flew it home, not knowing they basically put a live marine animal into their luggage and got it on an airplane. And so when they got it home and unzipped their suitcase, everything in their suitcase was ruined because it's a dead animal in there. It's going to stink really, really bad. They had to throw all their luggage away, even had to throw their suitcase away also. So yeah, it's just not even worth. Better just to look than touch. But I wanted to mention one of the other bigger predators everybody likes to hear about, sharks. We have about 70 species of sharks that live here. One comes here more often than not. The one that comes here the most are nurse sharks. The Marquesas Keys, which are about 30 to 40 miles from here, is the largest breeding ground for nurse sharks in the world. So we have a lot of nurse sharks that come here. Nurse sharks are different than most sharks. Most sharks are called ram ventilators. That means they constantly have to be moving through the water from the time they're born to the time they die to push the oxygen or the water through their gills so they can oxygenate their blood. Matter of fact, most sharks, if they stop swimming, they can drown very easily. So they have to constantly be moving. Nurse sharks don't have to do that, though. They're a little bit special. They have what's called a fluke pump. Flugal pump in the back of their throat. They can basically pump that water through their system without really moving around a lot. They're pretty lazy sharks. They kind of just hang out in one spot. So what happens here at the reef is all these little nooks and crannies, you have all kinds of little crustaceans and maybe some lobsters and things like that that'll be hiding down there. So the nurse shark will go right over to the top of it and basically will just suck that lobster right out of the hole with the power of about 8 vacuum cleaners. So if you're down there, snorkeling or diving, you're seeing this, I guess it kind of looks and sounds like a baby nursing. So that's why they're called nurse sharks. Pretty cool little sharks to be able to do that. They kind of hang out. I say little ones around here usually are about 5 feet long, maybe 6 tops, but they can be over 12 feet long. They can get extremely large. We don't see any nurse sharks today. You guys really are into sharks. You want to see some. Back when we get to Mallory Square, right over there in that area is Key West Aquarium. And Key West Aquarium has all kinds of sharks over there. All kinds of sharks, different types of fish, things like that. So you can go in there and check those out. If you want to see a shark in real life, you want to see one in the wild, this is what I can tell you to do, is you can just go down Flagler Avenue, which takes you all the way through Key West. At the very end of Flagler Avenue, there's a resort called Coconut Mallory's, and you just park there and then walk back out on the docks, kind of right around this time of night, and you'll see about 30 or 40 nurse sharks in crystal clear water right there where the boats are docked. They like to hang out there because when the guys get back in from fishing, they basically just dump their excess bait over. The nurse sharks know this, and so they always show up, and they'll just sit there and get whatever they can. Even from time to time, you'll see some manatees come over there and eat some of their leftover bait, which is kind of strange because manatees are called sea cows because they're, well, first of all, they're mammals, and they breathe air, but they like to eat the vegetation on the bottom of the bottom there, and so usually they're just eating the vegetation, but they will actually show up there along with the nurse sharks. They're all just kind of hanging out, eating scraps of fish off the bottom. Kind of fun to watch. So if you need directions for that, let me know.
Excuse me, Dean. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Unfortunately, though, we have come to the end of our viewing time here along the reef. So we're going to pull off the reef line. We're going to pick up a little bit of speed, start making our way back towards Key West, and we'll see what happens with the sunset this evening. I would like to thank you, though. That was once again a fantastic presentation.
I think you got it, Karen.